Excellent!
Hey guys, welcome to Paul's Hardware. Today's video is a quick tutorial on the Humble SLI bridge. That is right. And how to do a quick and easy modification to it to make it look much prettier, purely for aesthetic purposes. This is one of the things I've learned how to do, or kind of retaught myself as I've been working on the Arctic Panther. This is not, however, the final Arctic Panther build vlog. I have been working on that and it has been coming along, and I will give you guys a quick little update on that towards the end of this video. But for now, how did I go from this to this? How can you do that too? What do you need to do that? And does this apply to Crossfire bridges as well? Yes, it does. Although those are less relevant now that Hawaii and Fiji-based GPUs don't need them. But I digress. On to the tutorial. So on many computers, especially those with a side panel window, the SLI bridge is just in a very visible position, and we've seen lots of systems built that don't seem to do the best job when it comes to actually, well, keeping them visually appealing. They stand out a lot, especially if you have one of these older or cheaper SLI bridges like this one that don't really do much when it comes to aesthetic considerations. There are other SLI bridges available, of course, like this one from ROG with the ROG logo on it that is black and much more appealing. Or here's another one from EVGA, for example, that has the NVIDIA SLI logo. These will work, but what if you're like me and I actually don't have any ROG hardware in this system? I do have an Asus motherboard, but I also don't have any EVGA hardware in this particular system, so I felt like those wouldn't really work out. So what I did was I took an old ribbon style SLI bridge, just like this one, and I painted it. And now it looks like this. And I think that looks much better. Now, I did this sort of quickly and without much research or consideration, so thankfully for this video I have done that. But I will say right from the get-go that this SLI bridge works. I've tested it. And that is actually the second thing you should do after getting all of your equipment together, is you should test your SLI bridges or your SLI bridge to make sure it works. But let's talk about equipment you might need. Other than the SLI bridge, you need paint. And this is the paint that I used originally. This is an all-purpose paint. It works on metal, wood, plastic, and more. I liked this paint because it's matte black, and I like the matte black finish. I didn't want my SLI bridge to be like too blingy and stand out-ish. I feel like if something's in my system and I want it to stand out, it needs to blend in perfectly, or like warrant standing out. So for that reason, I was just looking for more of a subtle approach to the SLI bridge, and that's why I went with matte black. But this is the paint I actually bought to paint some of my wires and some of the other stuff in the system. And the main concern with the paint you choose is whether or not it's conductive. And lots of paint can be conductive. How conductive it is depends on what the actual materials or the chemicals are that are in the paint. And then also it can depend on whether it's wet or not. So definitely, if you are painting at all, make sure that you let everything dry completely before you do any testing. The paint I will recommend that you use if you're going to do this project at home is going to be Plastidip, because Plastidip it's completely non-conductive. It's more like a plastic coating, and you can also peel it off, so if you screw up you can maybe start over, that sort of thing. So today I'm going to be using this to do a paint job on this SLI bridge here. Here is the SLI bridge I did with a matte black finish. I think it turned out very pretty, but the concern here again when it comes to the conductivity is these terminals. And there's actually some voltage running through there, so that's why conductivity would be bad. If you were to bridge connections up here, you could potentially damage your graphics card and other things. So that's why when I was testing this one, at least, I didn't do it with my 980 Ti's, for example. I use 960s, but you should just test beforehand, or maybe just use Plastidip. That's probably the best bet. Plastidip you shouldn't be concerned about. The other things to worry about when it comes to step 3, which we're going to do here in just a second, which is masking, is you might notice some very, very small connectors right in there, in between the plug and the thing. And I would avoid, if you could, getting paint clogged up in that, because that would be bad. So step 3 is masking. Sorry I didn't mention in the equipment that you need some painter's tape, some masking tape. That is important. Here's all I really did to mask it off. I used 2 small pieces to cover the actual plugs on the end, because we don't want to get any paint up in there that might be blocking the connection between the plug and the graphics card's SLI fingers. Other than that, I've left everything as is. And again, there is a gap in between here. And if you're not using Plastidip, if you're using anything that might be conductive, be really careful about getting paint clogged up under there. If you're using the Plastidip, even if plastic gets in there, it should still be fine as far as the connection goes, so no worries there. Let's move on to the next stage though, which is painting. Here's my setup outside. I have a bit of cardboard to paint on. Use more than this if you're at all concerned about the surface you're painting on. Other than that, I gotta shake the can up, and then I'm gonna start painting. I'm gonna start painting off to the side, and then I'm gonna swipe across. I'll start over here, and then swipe across the thing, and then I'll start over here and come back. Then I gotta turn it around the other way and do it on the other side as well. And then after it's dried a bit, I'll flip it and do the same thing from the other side. Okay, so this was a single coat. I've given it plenty of time to dry now. Well, it's only been about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, but Plastidip dries pretty quickly, and it's looking pretty good actually. I'm happy with this. I also got this camo version of Plastidip, which I wasn't sure what it meant it was, but I think it means it's a little bit more matte of a finish. So here's the Plastidip one on the left versus the one I did with the other paints on the right. Both looking pretty nice. Let me just peel off the my masking here, and we'll take a closer look at it. There's a downside to the Plastidip, is it all wants to come off in one piece, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful removing the other side. That worked a little bit better. Alright, so there's your close-up look at the finished, at least outside. You can barely see some of the like ASUS labeling that was on there and stuff before. But other than that, it's pretty much all covered. Maybe a little bit of a missed spot under here. I could do another coat on this, but I want to keep it as thin as possible, and I think this will do just fine. Also, not too much build-up on the connection points right up in there either, so I'm happy with that. So a couple final points to make on the SLI bridge side. One is going to be that these are flexible, you might notice, unless you're using a rigid PCB one, which you could probably do the same thing with, I imagine. But if you're using a flexible one, that's another reason why the Plastidip might be a good choice, because it is flexible. If you're using other paint that you've deemed to be non-conductive, maybe consider choosing one that is the exact correct size for the spacing of your graphics cards. That's kind of what I've done here, just because I don't want it bulging out either. I don't like that look. I just wanted the direct 3-slot spacer, which are actually pretty common. So just get that if you're worried about, because flexing the SLI bridge after it's painted could cause the paint to crack or that kind of thing. But that's pretty much all for the SLI bridge part of this, but I promise you guys another quick look at my ongoing custom water-cooled build here. So there it is in its current state. You'll notice I've put my custom sleeved power supply in there. I've started getting the cables routed around. I'm working on training the cables. I had bought some cable combs. They were too small to fit through, so I'm just got them sort of lined up and held in place with some twist ties for now. And I gotta see if that's gonna work, if they'll stay as is after they've been trained that way for a while, or if I need to actually get some other combs or something. The 24 pin still needs some work up there too, but it's coming along. Other than that, I've got most of the hardware reinstalled in the system. I've got the radiators in place. So everything's coming back together. I do need to do some rebending of the tubes. I think I'm actually only going to be reusing one of the tubes that I bent from the original one, the one that goes from here up to here. Everything else, the spacing is a little bit different because I'm using different fittings. I went with all black fittings. But you know what I need to do is finish this frickin' build. So I'm gonna I think I'm gonna wrap this video up and get to work on that. So there's a look at the ongoing progress for Arctic Panther. Stay tuned for that final build vlog coming very, very soon, probably next week sometime, fingers crossed. In the meantime, I hope you have enjoyed my quick tutorial on how to create your very own custom painted SLI bridge. If you enjoy these types of videos, let me know by posting a comment down in the comments, or maybe hitting the like button to let me know that you enjoyed it and maybe you got something out of it. Also, don't forget to share this with your friends who you think might be interested. Maybe stop by my store at store.paulshardware.net and you can buy a fancy shirt, not this shirt, but shirts just like it. I have a new series that are out right now or should be up this weekend. And of course, as always, thank you for watching.